Hello and welcome to the Wine Educate podcast. This is episode 85 and I'm your host, Joanne Close. And today we're finishing off our series on the Rhone, ending with the Southern Rhône, in particular the Crus. I had such a lovely time last night. We had a Barolo tasting here in the shop. And as you do, we couldn't narrow it down. So we ended up doing 9 Barolos. And I was a little worried that I'd have to roll some people out of here, but everyone was very good, very professional. We had a really great time. And the big takeaway is that we just need to taste more Barolo. It's such a complex and very interesting wine region. Lots of parallels to Burgundy. Anyway, we're going to finish off with the Rhone. So here we are in the Southern Rhône. So very pretty, the Rhone River, and much flatter terrain, but there's still some elevation here and some different soil types. A little recap of the appellations in the Southern Rhône and what we can expect. This is predominantly red wine country here. That is the lion's share of what is made, but we also do have rosé and also the whites. We have a warm Mediterranean climate, so the grapes that grow here are heat-loving grapes. In particular, Grenache, right, is the biggie, and we still do have Syrah. We have our GSM blends, which stands for Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre. We have 3 main tiers of appellations, starting with Côtes du Rhône AOC. It's the generic, it's the entry level, and it is the broadest. Then we have Côtes du Rhône Village, so we're getting a little bit more specific. And then the Crus, which is the very top of the pyramid. Over half of the Rhone production are Côtes du Rhône AOC, mostly red, medium-bodied, fruity, and simple. Also produce a little rosé, a little white. These are your everyday drinking wines, your reliable wines. And I will say, if I'm at a restaurant and I'm got a really huge wine list and I'm noticing, oh my gosh, the markups are pretty significant and I just really want a good quality red wine that's not going to cause me to have to remortgage my house, I will go to Côtes du Rhône. They're going to be reliably good and they're going to go with many things that you would order. And they're also intended for early drinking. Côtes du Rhône Village. Okay, a little stricter here, higher minimum alcohol, lower yields. And some villages, if 100% of the wine is from that village, can affix their name to the Côtes du Rhône Village. These villages can apply for cru status, which is what essentially has happened to the crus in the past and is still happening today. So some villages, if they feel like it's time that they should be elevated up, can fill out the paperwork and apply to do just that. Okay, so now we get to the nitty-gritty, the crus of the Southern Rhône. Here we have 9 of them. I am not going to talk about all 9. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. For my level 2 students, the one cru you really have to know is Chateauneuf-du-Pape. For my level 3 students, you also need to know that, but we're adding on here. So we're adding on Gigondas, Vacqueyras, Lirac, and Tavel, those 4. I just want you to know that there's 9 total, even though I'm not going to talk about them specifically. Now, we also have Beaumes-de-Venise here. Beaumes-de-Venise is something that's important to know for my level 3 folks. It is a fortified wine. This topic deserves its own podcast, and I'm going to be recording this for my level 3 podcast, which I'm rolling out in the new year. This podcast is taking certain topics that tend to show up as essay questions on your level 3. This is to help you better understand these concepts. So my goal is to roll this out in the new year and have quite a few of these already recorded. So the biggie, the one we all know, pretty famous, really interesting history is Chateauneuf-du-Pape. There's a handful of wine regions in the world that if you were to ask your friend, maybe not wine nerd friend, but just, your friend, if they could name some wine regions, there's a good chance that they would name Chateauneuf-du-Pape. It has quite a global reputation and is better known than many other of the regions. So, not only was the first cru to be established in the Southern Rhône, well, it was the first cru to be established ever in France. The history of how it came to be really interesting, but essentially fraud, Things always stem from regions getting ripped off, their name getting abused, and people having enough and deciding that they need to protect their name, their appellation, therefore their livelihood, and define it. So that is what happened in 1936. The appellation system was born, and Chateauneuf-du-Pape was the first appellation. It is also the largest here, about 3,200 hectares. What does it mean? Chateauneuf-du-Pape means Pope's new castle. So the Pope moved to Avignon, and when that happened, he demanded that vines be planted, and the region became famous, and Chateauneuf-du-Pape got its name. So what is Chateauneuf-du-Pape like? Well, 13 grapes are allowed here in the blends, and the style here are going to be full-bodied, high alcohol, spiced red fruit flavors. Red is going to dominate. There are some interesting whites that are made here, but no rosé. Here again, we have the famous stones, the galets, that heat up during the day and then release that heat up into the vines at night, increasing the ripening, making the wines a little richer, a little bolder. Because this region has become so popular, many folks have planted in some areas that are not as great as others. So quality can vary from this region. Okay, we're lumping the other four into two categories. We have Gigondas and Vacqueyras, which are over on the right bank, the right side of the river. So we're going to talk about these two, starting with Gigondas. So Gigondas got its appellation in 1971, has a little bit of elevation here in this area, can go up to 500 meters. This reflects in the wines and that it gives it a little bit more freshness or acidity. Freshness can be a controversial word. Anyway, I'm going to use it because I like it, and I think it does help define what's happening here. Reds almost completely dominate, but 99% of the plantings. The town of Gigondas is a very pretty town. The name Gigondas is said to come from the Latin jucundus, which means joyful. These wines are going to be similar in style to Chateauneuf-du-Pape wines. Vacqueyras. Okay, Vacqueyras is right next door. It got its appellation in 1990. It is a bit flatter. It gets a bit warmer and more susceptible to the Mistral. Here we have a little white red and rosé, and produces structured reds similar to Gigondas. Vacqueyras and Gigondas represent really good values. Chateauneuf-du-Pape keeps creeping up in price. Its quality can be a little variable. I would say give Vacqueyras and Gigondas a chance, right? Next time you're out and about, see if you find one on the shelf and try one for yourself. Over on the left bank of the Rhone, we have Lirac and Tavel. And now I get to talk about Tavel, which is one of my absolute favorite appellations here in France. Also, one of the first 6 appellations established in France. So was really important and popular back in the day, this style of rosé. And indeed, that is all they make. They just do rosé, no red, no white. These rosés are made from Grenache, Sancerre, but they have 9 other grapes that could possibly be used in the blend. What is this rosé like? It is very distinct. I'm a huge fan. So this is a deeply colored rosé. Some of them you could maybe even mistake for a light red. That's how much color they have. The grapes are macerated on the skins, sometimes overnight, to get this color. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, this has fallen out of favor. So when people think rosé, they want that really light pink Provençal rosé, which I think is a shame because these styles of rosé are just delicious, really gorgeous. So I encourage you to go out and find yourself a Tavel rosé. Lirac, established in 1947, just next to Tavel, makes a little bit of everything, a little red, white, and rosé, and is often compared to Chateauneuf-du-Pape in its style. Okay, so that wraps up the Rhone for us. We're going to be moving on to Beaujolais because here in the States, Thanksgiving is coming up and Beaujolais Nouveau is happening. So we're going to dive in to one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is Beaujolais, Beaujolais Nouveau, and all the things that surround it. If you have not yet signed up to the newsletter, please do so. Go to wineeducate.com, click on the green button, the green bar. I will send you level 3 questions. Everyone's loving the quizzes. I know they're lots of fun and just getting you on the right track for your classes. So have a lovely weekend, and I will talk to you again next week.